I would note for the record that Ms. Graham is not here. She has an excused absence. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the September 21st meeting. They were dispersed with your packet. I have a couple of small corrections. On, I believe it's page 2, the word next in, I guess it's the second full paragraph. It's, Mr. Gratz pointed out that a motion to advertise this draft ordinance is needed to be able to present at either the word next should be taken out. The other change I have is on page 3, under the CDBG award. The word here should probably be taken out when they were describing what streets were being done. The word here and the semicolon, the colon should be taken out. Those are the only two corrections I came up with. Anybody else come up with Annie?
I think on the attendance, Mayor Johnson was here.
That's twice in a row I missed the attendance. We're going to reflect that Mayor Johnson was in fact here. Any other changes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Ms. Jordan, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Trabo, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. We're going to get to you in a minute, Mr. Piperato. For privilege of the floor, before Mr. Piperato takes stage, anybody wish to address council on an agenda item? Seeing none, did anybody sign the list? Being told none, Mr. Piperato, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
Is that, I believe it's on.
It should be. The green light's on here. Good job.
Does that sound like it's on?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good evening, members of council. My name is Joe Piperato. I'm an attorney with an office in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I am here with Matt Longenberger. Matt is from Bowler Engineering. Their office is also in Bethlehem. We're here tonight on behalf of a company called 940 Cherokee LLC. And I think it's always important for people to know who the members are of an entity when somebody appears before a municipal body. And so I want to let you know that that entity is made up of 2 members. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Donnie Petridis. Mr. Petridis is the owner and operator of the Shelby Restaurant, if any of you are familiar with that or ever been there. The second member is Mr. Tavares, Carlos Tavares from Joao Construction Company. And a number of years ago, they started doing residential projects. One of the projects they're doing right now is the project at the intersection of Route 378 and Center Valley Parkway. I don't know if any of you, when you're traveling south on 378, have seen a very nice single-family development that is going there along with a commercial development as well. And so I wanted you to know who they are. They both wanted to be here tonight. They're appearing in other municipalities with matters that they have. And so unfortunately, they couldn't be here. But Matt and I are here on their behalf. 940 Cherokee owns 940 Cherokee, which, as you know, is right here behind your municipal facility. It is a property that's approximately 120 feet by 520 feet, so it's relatively narrow but very, very long and in a rectangular shape. The property is located in the town center zoning district, and it currently has a 22-unit apartment building, and attached to that is the fire station. And my understanding, I wasn't here at that time, but my understanding is that the portion that's now occupied by the fire station was either donated or provided to the fire station at the time they did that project with the 22 units. What they'd like to do is they'd like to build a second building on that lot that would consist of 22 units. And we appeared many months ago in front of the zoning hearing board, and we requested 2 variances, one which the zoning hearing board granted and one which it denied. It was a bit confusing to me because the board found a hardship in one instance, but apparently they didn't feel that that same hardship applied in the other instance, and so they denied our variance request to reduce the lot area per dwelling unit. And so we appealed that matter to Lehigh County Court, and to be honest with you, we don't want to utilize that process, and it's the long and protracted and expensive process. We prefer not to do that. And I started thinking about it, and Matt particularly had done a lot of research on many of the other boroughs in Northampton and Lehigh County and some of the other more densely populated urban areas to determine what the calculation. It always seemed high to me, and that's kind of the presentation we made to the zoning hearing board, because we felt that 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit for a multifamily dwelling seemed very high compared to what we've seen in other municipalities and throughout the Commonwealth. And so Matt and I did a little bit of research, and we thought, you know, there's a process in the MPC that allows a landowner to come before the municipal body, the legislative body, and request a landowner request for a zoning amendment. And that requires a petition for us to file in a public meeting, and that obviously is not tonight, so we're not asking for any action tonight. But we thought that before we went through with all the stuff regarding the appeal, that we'd come before you and kind of get your comments and see whether or not there might be an appetite or a consideration by the members of council for the requested amendment to the zoning ordinance. We are not asking for something that is not permitted. Multifamily dwellings and apartments are permitted in the town center district, so it's a permitted use. We are here seeking only an amendment that would reduce the square footage requirement of a 3,000 square foot lot area per dwelling unit, because in order to be able to do that, they would need 3 acres. And frankly, that's a large piece of property for the number of units that is being considered. The property is about 1.3 acres, right, Matt, as it stands. And so we came before the zoning hearing board, and we asked for that to be reduced to 1,190 square feet, and that would permit a second building of the same number of units, which would be 22 units. As you know, there's more than sufficient parking on the property. In fact, I've Googled Earth many, many times the property, and it's very seldom that you ever even see this half that has the 22 current apartments filled with parking. And so we believe that there's more than adequate parking on the property in order to accommodate the 22 additional apartments. There's no way to acquire any additional property because you know it's surrounded on 3 sides by public roads, and the other side, I believe, has the housing facility to the west, I believe it is. So it's not like they can go out and try to purchase additional lands to combine it to try to make up the 3 acres. So the property is what it is, and it's in the condition that it's in. I thought it was interesting when I looked at the lot area requirements, because it's only 4,000 square feet for a single family dwelling, and it's 3,000 square feet for a twin. And usually there's a progression in most ordinances. It goes from the highest amount for your single family dwelling, then it reduces by some count to your twins, and then it reduces further to your townhouses and your multiple family dwellings. In this case, the 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit for multis is identical to what it is for twins and townhouses. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. I thought that was a little bit unusual. That being said, we're at the mercy of council. It's something that we believe these gentlemen would build a very nice project. Matt's done a considerable amount of research throughout the borough to see whether or not a development like this could go anywhere. And Matt, I think you've come to the conclusion that there really aren't any 3-acre parcels that would be available anywhere in the borough to be able to accommodate only the 22 units that are being proposed. And so with that, we thought that we would come before you and chat a little bit about this. I do note that we looked at your stated purpose and community development objectives of your zoning ordinance, which talks about providing diverse housing opportunities, encouraging adaptive reuse and infill of properties, and promoting alternative means of transportation. And it's interesting to note that, and I wish Mr. Petridis was here to tell you this, but the units that are currently being occupied, the 22 units, are primarily either employees of the hospital or students at the school. And there are a number of them that don't even have vehicles. And so many of them either walk or use public transportation. I can't be certain of that. I don't know if it's available here, but I do know that there are a number of residents of the existing units that do not have cars. The stated purpose of the TC zone is mixed uses, residential, pedestrian friendly, and discourage automobile use. The stated purpose of the historic overlay district is similar. And the TND provisions in the MPC encourage pedestrian friendly designs, provide transportation alternatives to automobile, and offer dwelling type diversity. And we believe that we're not here seeking a 50 to 100 unit apartment complex. We are looking for a building that's consistent with what is there now, 22 additional units, and we believe it would be appropriate for this location and this site. I do note that there are other by right uses for the property that would, I believe, provide significantly more traffic and more impact on the neighborhood than what this proposal would, and I'll leave that up for you. I'm sure you know what the uses are that are permitted in the TC district. But there are some of them that, like a motel, hotel, that type of thing, that would provide much more impact in a negative way. Frankly, we don't believe it would have a negative impact on the neighborhood. It's a standalone lot by itself. It's already all fenced in. You've seen that. It already has the 22 units on it. I believe at the zoning hearing board, I asked whether or not there had been a lot of complaints or any complaints filed pertaining to residents of the existing apartments. I believe the answer was no, there had not been. And so this is not an effort to do anything other than build an attractive, responsible, and reasonable development on the property. And so, again, I know that I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It's something that we would have to come back for. We have to file an application with the borough, pay the appropriate fees. It would have to go to your planning commission, I believe, for a recommendation. It probably would also have to go to the Lehigh County Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then be scheduled for a meeting with notice. But we thought before we did all that process, we'd come before you and see whether or not you would give it your consideration.
So what you're looking for tonight is a formal motion of council authorizing you to proceed, or a consensus of council?
Well, it could be a motion under the MPC, I believe, David. It'd be because there's a process. In other words, you would not be voting on the approval or anything other than to move forward with the public meeting. And if you didn't want the public meeting, you just tell me.
I think it's one step before that. I think it's to authorize you to work with our solicitor to prepare a draft amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, so we have the form provided, so he would complete a form, pay the fee, they would draft the text amendment that they're looking for to give to us. It then goes to planning to review all those things. So really what he's here to do is generally just gauge council's response, because ultimately, like, if he files this, council could be, we're not going to agree to this at all, so why pay the $3,500, why file the form if council isn't even willing to consider it? So here it's just to discuss if council's willing to consider it.
All right, well, then let me put it to council. Is there any objection to what Mr. Peperato wants to do?
I'd like to see some of the planning, but I'm certainly not opposed to considering it.
Well, again, right now, all he's asking is, will we be amenable to possibly amending the ordinance? If the answer is no, I don't think he wants to move forward. If the answer is yes, I think he will. So,
but I think it's
obviously we have to see it. Obviously we have to talk about
it.
Obviously we have to approve it. But I guess the bottom line question for tonight is anybody objecting to amending the ordinance under any circumstance?
Yeah, so just a point of clarity, although he's here representing a specific client with a specific project, a text amendment would change, if approved, would change the ordinance across the board for everybody in the borough.
That is true. Thank you, Eric.
That is correct. So I'll ask the question again, and Mr. Roof, I'm keenly aware of what you want to do. Anybody just dead set against this? I don't see any negative response.
Thank you.
So I would encourage you to at least do the first couple of steps.
We will do that. Thank you. And Mr. Roof, we will bring renderings. I was going to bring them this evening, but they're not done yet. So when we come back with our application and come before you, we will provide renderings so that you can see what the proposal would actually be. Okay.
Mr. Peperato, if you want to email Mr. Zahner from zoning,
yes,
he will get you the application for that.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. All right, we're going to move forward with the meeting. The next on the agenda is the mayor's report.
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the borough manager's report, road work update.
I'm not going to have anything to talk about when we finish all this road work. So we should be completing the pedestrian crossing project at Broadway and Delaware here any day. It looks like most of the curb work, concrete work, the ramps are all done. They have the sign bases in, or the post bases in, so they should be putting up the traffic signal for the pedestrian crossing, the flashing lights and whatnot, and the new buttons sometime this week, hopefully, and then that'll be done. We are looking at an early November start date for curb and sidewalk on Broadway. And tentatively, we're looking at next week for the microsurfacing project on Delaware, weather permitting. So we're starting to run up against the, unfortunately, it's awful cool right now. So we are starting to run up against the weather as to whether or not we're going to get this done or have to table it till next May. So hopefully we can get it in. We will have a detour map. The plan right now is to have one lane of traffic open each day, and then a detour for the others. They'll also have flaggers on site to help those and get folks into the doctor's offices and to St. Luke's and whatnot. So it's, again, 2 days. The milling day, which is prep work, they're just going to use flaggers where they're milling, so that'll be less impactful. But then there'll be 2 days of detours, probably from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. We did try and look at night work, which is too cold for, and weekend work. There's an issue with the materials plant being open on weekends at this time of year, so that's not an option either. So more to follow on that. We'll put it out on our website and social media as soon as those dates are confirmed, and I have the maps this week. It should be tomorrow.
So you're looking to do all of Delaware Avenue at one shot from Uncas all the way up to Broadway?
Correct, yeah, and this is a microsurfacing, so it's not like a mill and overlay where they mill the road off. They do some spot milling, so but it's only a like 3/4 of an inch product, so it levels off, gives you a new road surface, takes out some of the imperfections, and increases the lifespan on the current pavement that's on Delaware. So it's far less impactful than a traditional paving project.
And I assume for those 2 days that there'll be no parking on Delaware?
There will, yeah. The contractor will be giving notices to residents via the doors and again, or door hangers, and we will blast this out as soon as we have those dates confirmed and we have all the information, which should be tomorrow.
Okay, what's going on with the crossing guard?
All right, so you may have seen Bethlehem School District in Bethlehem City up the pay to $15. So the city council there has to vote on upping their half of that. I checked in with the school district immediately upon seeing that, and of course it does not apply to the crossing guard position in Fountain Hill as it stands now. So their suggestion from the principal was to reach out to Dr. Roy, who's the superintendent, and also potentially have someone from here attend a school board meeting over there. So if everyone's okay with that, entertaining the idea of upping our portion, because clearly we're not getting anyone for $9 an hour. If we can get Bethlehem to up their portion, I will go ahead and contact Dr. Roy, at least feel him out, and then if we need to go to the school board, and I'll reach out to the mayor or someone who would like to go over and speak. So
our share would go from $3.50 an hour to $7.50 an hour?
$4.50 to $7.50.
$4.50 to $7.50. Is that budgeted? Probably not.
It's not, but I mean, I
think we
don't.
can come up.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we can come up with the money for that.
I may also suggest contacting Mr. Alonzi. He lives in Fountain Hill, and he's on school board.
Okay. Oh yeah, he lives down on Ostrom Street. Yep. Okay.
Right, is there anything else on the curb and sidewalk you haven't mentioned?
So this is separate from construction. So just trying to feel out as we go into the capital planning process, preparing the budget for next year. Early this year when we talked about Sioux Street, which we tabled till next year because of some cost overruns on the other projects with inflation, council had indicated that we were going to take care of the portions of sidewalk that needed to be replaced within that scope of work because liquid fuels money cannot pay for that. Is that something we are looking to continue for next year, or with the appropriate amount of notice are we looking to notify the residents? Because again, it makes a difference in budgeting standpoint.
Well, my understanding has been if the money's available in the grant, we'll pick it up. If not, it's on the property owner.
Yeah, well, it's not a grant. That's liquid fuels money. Liquid fuels will allow for curb replacement because it's part of stormwater management, but they will not allow liquid fuels money to be used for sidewalk. So the CDBG project gets the sidewalk covered. This would be either we pick it up out of the general fund or we send notice to the homeowners.
What is the scope of that project? Where is that located?
What is it, the 1100 block, Jason? Yeah, 1100 block of Sioux. Is that one specifically? Yes.
Is it down by Humford? Is it up or left?
It's down further.
Yeah, it should be what, Cool and, or, I'm trying to think.
It is Hoffer.
It is Hofford.
Offered to Bergen?
Is it Hofford to Bergen?
Yes, I believe so.
All right, is there anybody want to comment on that? Do we want to pick it up?
Again, at this point, I'm not looking for anything binding, but just for preparation purposes for the budget do we want to factor those costs in like we did last year, or are we looking that in the beginning of the year, once we solidify what projects we're doing, that we're going to send notice to the homeowners?
Do we have an estimate as to how much money we're talking about?
No, not at this point. I mean, I think last year it was to the tune of 16,000 or so. But again, I mean, who knows what that cost is going to be?
All right, anybody have any comments, pro or con?
Well, I'd like to be able to pick it up if we could, depending on what the estimate is.
I agree.
Anybody else?
I think it was well over 16,000.
Was it?
Anybody else? I guess the comment is to go, so that we'll try to put it in the budget.
Yep, we'll factor it in the budgeting project cost then.
Fair enough.
Okay.
New business, trick or treat.
Oh, you missed my pedestrian crossing
So
signs.
I thought you commented. I thought
No,
it was almost
that's-
done. Okay,
That's a different pedestrian crossing.
All right, I'm sorry. Pedestrian crossing sign.
So reference the courtesy of the floor, the lady from Cool Street who spoke about the pedestrian crossings on Delaware Avenue. In addition to them getting repainted after the microsurfacing, Mr. Quarry has ordered the road signs with the arrows that indicate there's a pedestrian crossing that go on sign posts. So we're going to try those options at the two crosswalked intersections, Lynn and at Cool, before we start putting things out into the street. Another potential option that he handed out to you here is the digital Your Speed signs. They can't be used for enforcement, but they'll flash at you when you're going too fast. You see them in a number of other municipalities. So the thought is potentially budgeting for two of those, one in each direction on Delaware. I think that would be effective. In talking to the police chief, he has no objection to that. So we would either need to find money or seek a generous benefactor to pay for those.
Okay, well,
How much do they run?
no, these are not mandatory enforceable. These are simply advisory signs. I don't think they're regulated.
No, and it's not a state road, so we're perfectly fine with doing that. $28.99 plus $125 for the mounting bracket plus $200 for shipping. So, yeah, what, $3,400 or $3,300 bucks
That's for the
per
two of
sign?
them, right?
No, that's per sign.
Per sign?
What's that?
Where's their factory? Can we pick it up?
Yeah, yeah, that is a heck of a shipping charge.
Anything else?
So I did provide 3 different options there, and as they go, obviously they go up in price.
And they were
Depending
handed,
on size
out to you before council tonight. You can take a look at them and we can discuss it at the next meeting at the budget.
One of the other things that those do also is they collect data, so you can actually go into the computer base or computer whatever, and it tells you when traffic is speeding or how much is happening. There's a bunch of options there for the police to work with. Times of days when it's getting the fastest traffic.
I know the information was just handed to us tonight, but does anybody have any preliminary questions for Jason? Seeing none. All right, we'll study it and we'll bring it back up either at the next meeting or at the committee of the whole on the 26th for budget.
All right, now I'm really done.
All right, didn't mean to cut you up before. New business, trick or treat night will be October the 28th from 6 to 8, I believe. And that's rain or shine.
Correct, and that is the same night as Bethlehem is historically done here.
And the Fountain Hill Community Grocery had a funding or request. They submitted the paperwork that was in your packet. The amount they're looking for is $3,000. Now, should we adopt the policy first and then go back to that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to pass that for formal action for just a minute. We're going to move down to a resolution 2022-27, a resolution of the Borough Council of Fountain Hill To establish a formal policy for nonprofit entities to request monetary donations. They were given to you at the last meeting. We've had a couple of weeks to look at them and study them. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. If we okay that, then every other nonprofit is also going to want their share.
As long as they're located in Fountain Hill.
As long as they meet the guidelines and as long as they get four votes on council.
Well, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it also has to be permissible under Chapter 12 of the Borough Code. So we're only allowed to even consider requests for donations to any of those entities that are within allowable via Chapter 12 of the Borough Code. So that also limits what types of agencies we can give funding to.
And Phil, I've already gotten one request, but because they're not in the borough, they would not qualify under the resolution.
Yeah, but we also have, what is that, 40 or 50 nonprofits.
Well, and there's no obligation to council to give any funding. So, I mean, it's ultimately at council's discretion. So anyone who meets these criteria can ask, and council's under no obligation to grant it. They take each proposal on its merits as they come.
Any other questions on the resolution, the proposed resolution? Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2022-27.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Ruff, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Johnson, are there any questions? Hearing none, Mr. Trable, Ms. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruff,
Yes.
Mr. Trotter, and I vote yes. Okay, we have a formal policy in place. Let's go back to the community grocery funding request. They submitted the packet. I believe they meet the guidelines in the policy that we just set. They're looking for a donation of $3,000. It's not part of the school district per se, I don't believe. It's an independent company, but it will help feed borough children, as I recall.
That is correct. And Ms. No, just correct me if I'm wrong, there is some discretionary community engagement funds that were set aside some years ago that are greater than the $3,000 amount?
Yes.
All right, apparently we have the money in the budget. We're not going to break the bank. Is there a motion to approve the request from the Fountain Hill Community Grocery Funding Organization?
So moved.
I'm sorry, who said that, Ms. Jordan? Ms. Jordan, okay, I'm sorry. And Mr. Trotter seconds it. Are there any questions on that? Hearing none, Mr. Trable?
Yes.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Ruff?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? And I vote yes. Okay. There are no ordinances. There's a couple of motions to pay some bills. The first motion is to approve payment to Gaver Industries doing business as Barker and Barker for the Warren Street Mill and Overlay Project in the amount of $112,536 as recommended by our borough engineer. You have that in your packet. Is there, first of all, are there any questions about that? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve that payment? Mr. Trotter, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Ruff, I'll come back to you, Mr. Trable, on this. Okay. Are there any questions before we vote? Hearing none, Mr. Trable, Ms. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruff,
Yes.
Mr. Trotter, and I vote yes, pay the bill. Second motion would be to approve payment to Cobalt Construction for the balance of Jeter Avenue reconstruction project in the amount of $15,648.18 as recommended by the borough engineer. The same, that was also in your packet. The same question, are there any questions on that? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the payment to Cobalt Construction? Mr. Trable, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Johnson, are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Trable, Ms. Jordan,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Ruff,
Yes.
Mr. Trotter, and I vote yes, pay the bills. Next item, approving payment for the 2022 Police Pension Plan MMO in the amount of $377,820. Do we need a motion on that? I thought it was part of the budget. I thought it's been budgeted.
So it was, this is 22, what was in the budget was 23.
Okay.
This was already in the budget 22 and now needs to be paid.
All right, we have to make that payment of $377,820 as our share of the MMO, the minimum municipal obligation, to help fund the budget, or to help fund the police pension plan. Is there a motion to approve that expenditure?
So moved.
Ms. Johnson, is there a second? Mr. Trable, any questions? Hearing none. Mr. Trable? Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Roof?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? And I say yes. It's approved. All right, next is the same thing, this time for the non-uniform defined benefit pension plan. I believe that's the Public Works.
Yeah, it's the
and-
older Public Works plan and all non-uniform.
And our staff here in the office.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And that's in the amount of $50,793. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Ms. Jordan, is there a second? Mr. Trable, any questions on that? Hearing none. Mr. Trable? Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Roof?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? And I say yes, I vote yes. That's items approved. Next item is the 2022 non-uniform cash balance pension plan minimum municipal obligation, or MMO, in the amount of $9,292. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Ms. Jordan, is there a second? Mr. Trable, any questions on that? Hearing none. Mr. Trable? Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Roof?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? And I vote yes. Last but certainly not least, to promote Mr. Art from probationary to full-time status as a public works laborer effective October the 13th. He has his Class A CDL now?
He does. He is his Class A CDL, and we have no reason to extend his probation.
Okay, is there a motion to remove him from probationary status and to upgrade him to full-time status?
So moved.
Ms. Jordan, is there a second? Mr. Trotter? Any questions? Hearing none. Mr. Trable? Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Roof?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? Congratulations, I vote yes. Congratulating for us. Old business, any old items of old business? Council President's report, I have a couple of items. I attended the Mr. Zofko's Community Coalition in the September meeting up at the pool. I thought it was well attended. I want to applaud Mr. Zofko for his continuing vision of the borough and what he wants to do. It's rather ambitious. I hope he can make it work. Their next meeting has not yet been scheduled, but I believe it'll be back inside because the weather has turned quite cold. He also has a neighborhood cleanup. This is similar to what the old mayor did, Mayor Kifford did for the longest time pre-COVID. I believe it's scheduled for Saturday, October the 15th. I just don't remember where he wants to meet.
We didn't decide yet because they're taking nominations for what street or area will be done, and whatever area wins, that's probably where they're going to be.
Okay, the location is yet to be determined, I've been told. So if anybody's interested in participating, it'll take about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I believe he said. And you can contact Mr. Zofko by email or at the website or the Facebook page for the Community Coalition. I believe he will be supplying the bags, the gloves, and the picker-uppers.
The water
And the water.
and the pizza.
And the pizza. No pizza.
Lorenzo's supplying.
We are continuing our negotiations with the police on the contract. We don't have a meeting scheduled, but I believe they want to talk some more. Is that correct? Or they want to look at our proposals?
Yeah, they're considering the latest proposal, and then we'll circle back and see if we need to have subsequent meetings.
This is not necessarily on behalf of the borough, this is on behalf of private citizen Norm Blatt. I want to thank Officer Woods and Officer Vasquez. I had a rabid raccoon outside my home a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know the raccoon was rabid at the time, but they responded quickly. They stayed the entire time. They were very professional. We snared the raccoon, we put it in a recycle container, and we waited for the person, Barb or somebody, right, Chief?
Yeah, for the, to take it and test it.
Yes, and unfortunately it tested positive for rabies. It had to be put down, but I was very happy that they responded in a timely fashion and they stayed the entire time. And Chief, would you, I've told them, but would you again pass on my personal
Sure.
thanks? I'd appreciate it, and I want to give them the credit they're due. That's all I have for a report. Anything from the solicitor?
Nothing for this month, no.
All right, moving right along. Finance, Mr. Trotter.
Okay, you all please refer to your list of disbursements from the borough funds in the month of September. From the general fund, $323,193.37. Out of the health and sanitation fund, $96,560.94. From the sewer fund, $108,407.48. From the liquid fuel fund, $6,823.55. And from the library fund, $15,212.66. I make a motion to approve those borough expenditures in the month of September.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Trotter. We have a second by Ms. Johnson. Are there any questions about the bills?
That was Miss Jordan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Jordan. I'm sorry, you two sound alike.
I shaved my head.
You two sound alike. I apologize. There's no malice intended here. All right, hearing none, Mr. Trable? Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Roof?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Trotter. Public Works, Ms. Jordan, anything else you wish to add?
No, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Barr if you have anything to add.
I have nothing to report, I just provided you that literature for those signs, and that's about it.
The police, other than what I said, the contract negotiation is continuing. They want to look at our proposal. Chief, you have anything to add? You have a take-back day coming up, don't you?
Yeah, the 22nd is take back. That'll be from 10 to 2. The 8th is going to be meet your first responders up at the park. That's police, fire, EMS. That'll be at Fountain Hill Park in the morning. And then, well, the trick or treat we'll be doing also on the 28th, in conjunction possibly with the fire department on that level. And I think you guys that were on the police committee got the statistics for the month of September.
Yes.
And then the Whitehall, one of the guys from Whitehall Police is coming to meet with Ricky and Wayne to put a new part of the Mark 43 program together to pull out more specific levels of incidents like that, which will be a lot easier to read and to comprehend the patterns and statistics on that.
Okay, good. All right, and I want to circle back to my report. I missed two things. How did the pickup go? Anything with a plug? That was last month.
9 tons of, 9,000 pounds.
There's a big difference.
Yes, 4.5 tons.
That's still a
Yeah,
lot.
sorry.
That
No, it
is
was a pretty
still-
full dumpster. Yeah, it was a big success.
Well, that's great to hear. And I apologize. I wanted to say one other thing. October is Fire Prevention Month, and next week is Fire Prevention Week. I don't know if the firefighters are going to do anything at the firehouse. Anybody have a clue, Phil?
I have the fire report for the night.
Okay, all right. Again, now's a good time to check your batteries in your smoke alarm. You check your batteries in your CO2 detectors at home. Have a plan for your family in case of fire to get out safely and meet at some spot nearby but out of the zone of danger. It's a good time to go over the fire prevention things in the home and to have a plan. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. Just, it slipped my mind. All right, going back, House and Ordinance, Mr. Roof.
I have no report.
Fire, Mr. Trable.
No report from me.
I have the, Mr. Langton was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it, so he texted me about it an hour ago, and I have a couple items. October 8th, as the chief alluded to, meet with the first responders at the playground at 9 a.m. to 12. Police, fire, and EMS will be there. October 28, 29, and 30 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. that whole weekend. They are doing a haunted firehouse. More info to follow. They'll be up on their Facebook page, and we're sharing it on ours. The fire department received a donation from Lowe's in Bethlehem of 32 pounds of candy. So thank you to Lowe's. They've got 25 new applications for the fire department recently. Some are fire police, some are firefighters, and several of them actually are already trained. So that is good news.
That is good
But they
news.
are still recruiting new members, so feel free to sign up Thursday nights at the station. Is their training night, and you can stop in and talk to them.
That is good news. That is very good news. All right, Health and Sanitation in Ms. Graham's absence, I will read.
Recreation.
Oh, I'm sorry, Recreation. Ms. Johnson.
I don't have anything definite, but I did see Mr. Stoltz at the Liberty High School football game, and we need to pick a date for the tree lighting ceremony. I am recommending the first Sunday in December, which is December 4th. If that's too late for people, the Sunday after Thanksgiving is the previous week, which is November 27th.
It's typically the first
Sunday in December. So I would recommend December 4th, and we need to let him know so he can get planning on that.
Okay, we can save the date. I think that's a good date. Anybody have any objection to that date?
And then just something to look forward to in the spring. I'd like to do a borough-wide yard sale, hopefully over at the playground. Sorry, Jason. But it's something to look forward to, something to plan ahead and think about. It's something that has come up quite often recently as a want for the community to do. So if that's something we can plan ahead, I'd like to get that on the books as well.
Well, there's no reason we cannot. All right, you're in charge of that in terms of the Recreation Committee. Just pick a date and clear it with council.
Alrighty, thank you.
Health and Sanitation, in Ms. Graham's absence, I will read the report for garbage. We took in for the current month $44,537.57, delinquent $10,092.99, for a total of $54,570.56. Sewer current $53,630.77, delinquent $14,577.05, commercial current $56,37.74, for a grand total of $73,845.56, for a total sewer garbage collection in the month of September of $128,416.12. Mr. Berger, how are we doing on the hardcores that we sent over to your office?
I mean, so after following up on the last update, so we've done a pretty decent job collecting a lot of those outstanding balances. We're still moving forward on taking one to sale. I do know one of the outstanding balances reached out to Cordula earlier, or actually reached out to Eric earlier last week. And we've moved forward trying to resolve that one in some ways. We've had a lot of discussions with that property owner, but the hope is to get that one resolved pretty quickly.
Good, excellent, thank you. Personnel, Mr. Trotter, anything? Okay. Special or Select Committee, Chief? Zoning, anything, Keith? Library, Mr. Roof?
I just want to shout out a huge congratulations for 1 year of Books on the Hill. A big round of applause for Anne Marie Jordan for being the big torchbearer for that. So Books on the Hill, 1 year, and from here on up, it's going to be even better and keep expanding. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Anything from the hospital? Anything else, Mr. Corey?
Just keep your eyes peeled for the door knockers for Delaware.
Okay, I live there, so I'll look. Privilege of the floor. Anybody wish to address council on any item whatsoever? Hearing and seeing none, there is no executive session scheduled, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Johnson, is there a second? Mr. Trable, are you seconding the motion? Okay, we're